Hey everyone, Johnny Trek here, and welcome back to a guide on Noble Fates. So in the last episode, we talked about building and essentially how to build things, how walls work. How walls work. Of course, we all know how walls work, but like how room types work and how building types work and how they kind of interact with each other. So in this episode, I want to talk a little bit more about crafting. So we did talk about the skills previously. With like building, crafting, farming, and cooking, is that, if you want to unlock more things, you need to have higher skills. So we're going to talk about like how do you kind of work on these stuff? How do you, craft and whatnot? So if you go into build and you go into work, you have two sections. You have resources and you have benches. There's two resources inside here. One is going to be a tannery or a drying rack. So if you wanted to, you say hunt the deer, you butcher the deer, you get hide from it. You throw the hide on here, then you get dry hide and you can make that into armor. The other thing is going to be the ferment barrel. So if you want, this is how you make alcohol. So you can make alcohol through moonshine, whether it be through corn, pumpkin, octoberries. I believe this is meal beans, straw. If you want to do straw, or if you want to do, wood. I did not realize you could do wood on here. I want you to do wine with grapes. So that's how you make alcohol, or you can buy it. So the next one is going to be benches. And this is going to have quite a few on here. So you have kind of three main crafting benches. You have crafting, foundry, and forge. Then you have two food-based ones, which is the butcher and the stove. You have the lectern, and then you have the cutting table. So we're going to go with the crafting ones first. So I'm going to do the crafting, the foundry, and the forge. So the crafting is going to be the first one you're going to do. And there's going to be two main sections. You're going to have gear, which includes hats, different kinds of hats, the feet, different kind of feet, and what they're going to be made out of. So gauntlets from hide or leather, or gloves from cloth or cloth, or robes, or shields from wood, hide, or leather. If you want to do weapons, you can do bows, fine bows, stone axes, wood hammers, crossbows, whatever. Then you have miscellaneous. Miscellaneous will give you torches, croquettes, or arrows. And arrows, of course, you need if you shoot with the bow. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So that's how that works. Next is going to be the foundry. The foundry you're going to start once you kind of get into the higher, like once you kind of get up into the next crafting section. So like crafting 3, 4, 5, 6, whatnot. And this stuff is going to use copper. So gear, so it's going to come back down to gear. And so you're going to do caps, you can do weapons, bronze swords, hammers, axes, armor, actual armor, copper armor, bronze shield, but copper still. And then you have resources, in which are going to be your rods. So iron rod, silver rod, gold rod. And you're going to need these to go on to the next one. So, for example, as you dig into the ground, you may come up near iron. It's a black material in the ground. And as you get iron ore, you come here and you will make it into iron rods. Once you get that done, you can move on to the forge. The forge requires iron or iron rods to make this stuff. So once again, same thing, caps, weapons, armor, whatnot. And then miscellaneous, if you have silver rods or gold rods, you can make coins out of them. I haven't seen silver or gold naturally in the game. I've only seen them as something you can trade with other people. But that's about it. I haven't seen anything else. So, that's essentially how that's going to work. Now, one thing to keep in mind is as somebody builds or like makes multiple of an item. So like, let's go with weapons and say stone axes. You can see there's a rarity on here. So it's a 30% uncommon rarity. Or we can have a hammer, which, okay, well, you don't have anything on here. So I believe how this works is that the more somebody makes something, as well as the higher the crafting is, the higher types of rarities you can get. And the more likely you're going to get them too. So as you make more stone axes and you start increasing your crafting skill, you're going to have a higher chance to get a uncommon rarity item. But then you might have a rare item, or you might have an epic item on site here too. As their skill gets better with crafting, and as they build or start crafting single items. So generally the rarity will give you bonuses to the skills, and some items, if the more rare they are, will actually give up to 3 bonuses to 3 separate skills. So you might have an item that gives you a bonus to nursing, farming, and crafting. And of course they'll have more prestige, and they'll do more damage, and they'll be worth more, which you can trade with. So that's how that works with crafting. Now with the forge and the foundry, they do need a heat source. So whether or not if you put a fire pit next to them, or you put a hearth next to them with a chimney, they do require a heat source. Now you can also, with the next one, is going to be, well, actually the butcher and the stove. The stove also requires a heat source. So, oops, maybe not quite like that. Let's go ahead and cancel. I'm going to rotate you. There we go. But it does require a heat source to work. So the butcher is the butchering table. Who's ever assigned to cooking will go and butcher animals that you've killed, or butcher people. Like I said, you can, if you want, you can make stuff out of orcs, dwarves, elves, humans. You can make meat out of them. And sometimes you might see people who say, like opinions, might say hate raw orc. Like he does not want to cook. He does not want to eat raw orc. Nor does he want to eat cooked orc or cooked human. He doesn't. He doesn't want to eat people, essentially. Now cooking is going to be the same thing. You have food. You can do meals, but the higher tier meals do require a higher skill to learn. So you want to do cooked meat. All these are pretty simple. They don't require anything. Or you want like fancy meals that requires a level 11. Cooked meal, travel meals, which is what you need if you go on an adventure through your petition. You need this to go out. So, and then you need an autosave too. Don't forget the autosave. Autosaves are very important. Okay. So after that, the next one is we're going to have this lectern. So I'm going to just finish off with these two really quick. We're going to do a lectern, and we're going to lectern, and we're going to do the cutting table. So in the recent, in the update where they added kids, they added bookshelves. And what those do is that each bookshelves are dedicated to a different skill. Whether they're nursing, building, cooking, guarding, whatever. They're gonna be attached to that skill. And there's gonna be 4 different tiers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The higher the tier, the more, the higher it requires to read that. So like a tier, I think 2 requires like a level 6 of that skill to read. Or tier 1 requires at least a level 0, but up to level 5. So a level 6 can't read a tier 1 book because there's no point. It's like, it's like giving a book of of electricity to an electrician who's been practicing for like 20 years. Doesn't make sense, right? So, but what you can do here is you can take somebody who really knows their stuff to make a book. So we have somebody who has at least tier 2 mining on here. And so if you want, you can just have them go write it. In fact, you can see right here. Allows mortals to study part of training. Requires a skill level of 10 to Arthur, but then a level 5 to 9 to study. Same like on here. Level 0 to 4 to study, but a level 5 to craft. So that's how that works. And actually, if you go into jobs, you can see there's a training option right here. Now with the training, and I forgot to mention this, and I'm probably going to go back and fix that because I completely forgot to mention how the training system works. But you can essentially train, you select somebody for training, then you got to go over here and you got to select what you want them to train. And you can actually even set like how much time they want to focus on training. So, like for example, maybe I want Olives to focus 100% of their training time on mining. So I forgot to add that in the previous episode, or the 2 previous episodes. So I need to go back and add that. So that episode is going to be edited, and you now know because of this. Okay. And then the cutting table. The cutting table, all it does is it cuts stone blocks. So anything that's fine stone, like these fine stone walls, require stone blocks to build. So that's pretty much all that is. So on top of that, I guess we only have 3 other things we can really look at. We do have tactical. The 2 different things inside here in tactical is you have the catapult. You know, it's a catapult. It would be better if it was a trebuchet. Those are the ultimate siege weapons, but it's okay. Catapults work just fine. And essentially, you assign somebody to this, and they will just shoot things at people. It's not accurate, so they may miss, but you know, they might hit somebody. And then you have these chevals. I think I'm pronouncing that. These don't do any damage. All they do is that they just slow targets as they go through them. So if somebody's walking this way, they're going to get a debuff to the walk speed. I don't know if it will say. Yeah, applies a 50% movement speed buff, debuff to them for 5 minutes to anyone that walks near. So, yeah. You have graves. I mean, graves are pretty basic. You know, you make a grave, you put it outside here, you bury dead people inside there. Done. And then you have training. So, these are mainly training for people who are assigned to train for guarding and range. And they'll come here and they'll just attack these and eventually destroy them, and they'll be rebuilt automatically. But you can also change what they want to be. So if you want us to melee only for this one, but range only for this one, you can. So that pretty much fills out the rest of this area. And that's really kind of the basics of the game. So I know I probably should do one more for the social interactions. That one might take a little bit longer because you gotta wait for people to kind of show up, but that's really going to be the big one for these. So I'm going to leave the episode here. So thank you everyone for joining me. If I do another episode, it will probably be before the social stuff, and if I do, I will see you in that episode. Have a good one.